budget to purchase that stuff. And as you can see in the template that I had here, that, if we wait, it's going to cost us approximately another $28,000 if we wait. And the lead time on some of that stuff is pretty tremendous as well. We had, with the equipment side, we could wait to purchase the monitor. Right now, we all have the most recent. However, some of them are greater than 12 years old. The usability or the lifetime expectancy of those is about 8. So in my opinion, if we should just purchase one, because that's what we normally do. And one of those can go bad at any time. And then we have a 33 to 40 week wait. And so we'd be out without a monitor. So if that is the case, we could place the newest one into service and have the oldest one as a spare. Because we do have times where we do have to take them out of service to get repairs. There's a huge jump in the prices of the equipment. It's kind of a monopoly. There's only a few different vendors that make that type of equipment. We have all Stryker equipment, and you can only buy it new from them. We looked at getting, maybe some refurbished or they were basically redone and certified, but you never know what you're going to get with that either. I don't really feel as though it's right to buy something that's 4 or 5 years old that's been factory refurbished, but you could have issues with it. This way there's a warranty on it, and we continue with the preventative maintenance on them. They should last a long time.
Back to the ambulance, I see you in your proposal here, you discussed the possibility of next time that it could be refurbished, that box.
It wouldn't be like in the next 3 years. It would be 8 to 10 years down the road.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
This one would be able to be refurbished.
Right.
Problem is we'd have to go clear back out there, but
yes, their turnaround time is fairly quick though.
okay.
So what we would do is where we would keep the last ambulance. So we still have an ambulance in all 7 ambulances.
Well, my point is that we could do the refitting one, which makes sense sometime.
Yep.
Is the price jump on this from the last one just because of a different, you're buying it from a different dealer, or what's the difference in it?
No, everybody had a price jump. We had a quote from the previous dealer we purchased from, and it was very similar to what this one was.
That's a huge price jump.
Yes, it is. I did.
Unrealistic.
right. And that's on everything.
$100 difference between these two?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Less than $100 between the two of them?
No, between the cheapest bid and this one was about $3,200. And it's not just the ambulance, like the price of the cot almost doubled. And there again, we've gotten the same style of cot for the last 4 ambulances. Well, now they're discontinuing that one, which forces us to buy the new one, which is more expensive. It has more options. Some of the options we won't ever need for now anyway, but it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of a monopoly. We're almost bound to do it because you also don't want to switch style. And then you have batteries for this cot and then batteries for this cot and different, it's even for like patient care. It's better to have, similarities to where you're not trying to figure out how to run this one. And then the next thing you know, you're running this one. And especially for like our first responders that don't deal with it very often, having, the same thing going across the board is beneficial.
Well, you don't want 2 different types of different vehicles because as people switch out different vehicles, being familiar with each one is very important when you're in different situations.
Right.
But as far as your comment about the way they change stuff, force you to do, ask me sometime about refrigerator filters. I'll tell you a story. I was forced to do things.
When would this deliver again?
We have it waiting until July 1st, after July 1st of 26. Initially, there was not going to be, the funds weren't going to be available to pay for it for budgetary reasons until then. With the totaling out of the other ambulance, we have the funds are there that we could get it prior. But I just think to get the schedule and moving forward, I've got a spreadsheet too that shows the expected cost of ambulances out for the next 4 ambulances.
Yep.
And if they continue the way they are, it's, you know, it's, you're gonna be paying $600,000 for an ambulance in 10 years with everything considered. But. And
You
they're,
said you allocate some funds every year, correct?
right, yep, and I just
We
upped
need to
them.
know that when we go through the
Capital fund.
Yeah, the capital funds I did up. I upped it again. I upped it for fiscal year 25. And then I'll project out because, you know, essentially well, it didn't work out well last time when they told me like 15%, but I reach out, you know, when it gets time for budget reasons and to say, hey, what are you expecting for an increase? That's what I did last time. And they told me like 15%. And then it was obviously well above that. So,
When you call them next time, can you say, what are you expecting for a decrease?
yeah, only it worked that way.
Jamie, you know, I'm the old new guy here, or the new old guy, whatever you prefer. So that's what's prompting this purchase is we had one get total.
No, we are on a rotation.
Oh, yeah, I knew that. We're still on a 3-year, used to be on a 5-year, just thought I'd throw that out there. But, board moved to this. But you had just mentioned a moment ago that one got totaled out. so-
Right, there was an incident that a tire came off of it. It was still usable, however, the repair costs well exceeded the value. It wasn't that there was a lot of damage, it was the placement of the damage. So they ended up totaling it because the repair costs were gonna be almost $55,000. So the insurance company ended up totaling it and then wrote us a check for
So what
$94,000.
are we getting for a 3-year-old ambulance these days with 150,000 miles?
That one, their valuation on that one was $3,500. So my intentions with that one was, it was the oldest ambulance in the fleet, but it had the least amount of miles because it was in Coon Rapids.
Mhm.
They were, at the time of the purchase of that one, they were limited on space.
Okay.
So, I sent our oldest one to Coon Rapids and then we brought that one up and we drove it on basically every single transfer to get miles on it. And then the hope was to pass it along to Lanesboro.
Mhm.
And I talked with the insurance company on that too. And they said that I would just get rid of it for liability purposes. So.
And then you mentioned that there was some consideration to go to a van body or a van chassis. Is someone making those again? Maybe perhaps Ram? or
They-
Mercedes?
They
I know Chevy's out of that business.
still make them, but they're not diesel anymore.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we work with, we need longevity out of the vehicles
Right.
for the rotation that we have. It works very well. And my concern is that, you know, generally your gas engines don't last as long as your diesel engines. And then if you do that, then you have, you know, you're remounting sooner or you're replacing them sooner, which costs more
Okay.
money.
So no one makes a diesel forward control.
Right, from what I understand, all of the van chassis are now gasoline, they're not diesel.
Okay.
You can do,
I just remember when, years ago, when, you know, then Pat went with this F-450 platform that guys didn't like them, maybe it was just due to the change, but they were less maneuverable and there was some ride quality issues or something like that too, but apparently this is the way we're going now, is with
right,
this.
the last 3 ambulances that we've purchased have been the F-450.
More suspension in it for better, right?
Okay.
It's got
So it's
liquid.
gotten better then. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
the biggest problem we have is on 71 South.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun.
And it's partially due to and it's so bad sometimes that you can barely even see, but that's not really specific to it's not just the Ford, you know. But the one that got totaled, actually, you couldn't even feel those, which was nice. It rode nice. It was better for the patient, but even the van chassis that we had prior, they were rough on those roads as well.
Okay.
There's nothing comfortable about riding in an ambulance.
I'll ask a question back on the delivery also, and this is a drop in the bucket compared to the total cost. But would it behoove us to investigate hiring a driver? Like these new wave garbage truck guys are out there all the time. And for $3,800, you know, essentially what they do.
Then it's our liability.
I understand that. I get that, but that's also what we pay premiums for.
Yeah.
And we all know what those have been doing. So we should get our, you know, covered there. If it didn't be the board's
I agree
consideration.
with you.
Pardon?
I agree with you. I'd look into it.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, ask
Awesome.
around, call out there and just have whoever might, some guys might not be interested, but some of these guys are looking for a way back. You follow me? And other guys are looking for a way out or whatever, but there might be some synergy there and we'll be able to shave at least some of this off. That would just be a thought, but.
I can definitely check into that.
That's not gonna stop the progression of purchasing.
That's absolutely
It's just
not.
looking at,
No.
Right, no, and
That's,
Save where we can.
I want to, like, you always do awesome on your, everything you give us is broke down to awesome, but like, this is not sustainable. We have to look at something here maybe, because the way these are jumping 100 and, will that jump 120,000? That's unreal. That's unheard of. And I know it's out of your control, but we gotta do something about it. That unfortunately, they know that every county entity is gonna keep buying ambulances every 3 years and they're booked out for how many years, you know? So we have no other choice, supposedly.
But you know, Mike, that's the same way with secondary road equipment. Look at what that does.
That's fine, but it's our tax money. I mean, maybe we gotta run them longer.
I know.
I'm not saying on an ambulance, but on everything.
But everything's getting higher.
Yeah,
I would urge the board to reconsider going back out to 5 years, you know, again, the reason why these are so much more expensive is because they're supposed to be so much better and longer lasting and longer term. But we're not realizing it by not factoring that in. And I remember I lost that argument years ago when we were buying them at 5 years, back when they were crappy. And then now that they're better and we went to 3 years. But to your point, Mike, I mean, to just sit here and keep taking it on the chin and expect our taxpayers to do likewise, without investigating it and at least trying it out, seeing what a 5 year, you'd have to actually go roughly, you know, 8 to 10 years to find out, you know, what a time span of 5 years does in terms of maintenance and things like that. But to Jamie's credit too, he does, he's got excellent records here, he'd be able to pin it down for you in just a number of years.
But one thing I gotta remind him, Mark, is I think when we were doing that compared to today, we're doing a lot more transports. I mean, what would you say that transport and multiplied?
we average right now 1 transfer a day. With that being said, you can have 2 days with no transfers and you'll do 4 or 5 in 1 day. But that's our average. Some months are higher, but in an overall year, we average 1 to 1.5 transfers a day.
and Jamie, when you say transfer, that's like Omaha, Des Moines.
Right, you'll leave St. Anthony's, interfacility transfer, so you'll go from St. Anthony's or Manning or whatever to sometimes Mayo, sometimes Iowa City. And that's the other thing too, is that with the facilities and how they're having problems having beds staffed and having available beds, they have to go farther. We've done transfers to Sioux Falls, you know, it's just, but to the 5 year thing, the issue with that is how we rotate ambulances throughout the entire county. We're the only one that I know of in Iowa that runs the EMS like we do. So those ambulances are in the county for 15 years. If you extend that out, they're leaving Carroll with 200,000 miles on them or more, because we average about 150,000 miles a year in transfers, or just overall in 911 response to transfers. Then, you know, by the time you get to the backside of it, you know, you're sending it out. Is it safe to send that ambulance out to Breda or Templeton or June or Manning? But, you know, it's definitely an option to look at. And then like with this one, I did extend it out to, it'd be another fiscal year. You know, or maybe we find a happy medium between the 3 and the 5 and go with 4. But I can definitely get the numbers together, you know, and we looked at too, buying a specific transfer ambulance. Problem with that is that you put all the miles on that one and you're replacing it sooner. So,
Another thing I was gonna add my point, with the way the situation after the hospital, they changed the designation. We're gonna have more transports.
not necessarily, but that's possible. I monitor it very closely. Our transfers have went up slightly, but it's not necessarily because of their designation. It's because there's just been a lot of sick patients. We anticipated doing more, basic level transports, but there's been minimal effect from that.
I was told that we'd probably see more.
Initially, that was the thought, but you know, as they took that designation, I think on January 1, our transfers are up slightly from that time. And they've been just sicker patients, you know, it hasn't been just them pawning them off on us to bring them to the city because they don't have room for them.
Question. When you're doing these long transfers, is there a way you can utilize, do you have to have all the equipment that an ambulance provides? Or is some of them maybe not so sick that you can decide, hey, we could take an excursion van, if you will, that has some medical equipment in it, but maybe not all the necessary means that full ambulance would need, because then you would be looking at a form of vehicle that.
You're required to have certain equipment, yep.
Okay.
And the thing is a tow pain can turn to a code. Yeah, I would not want to go down the road without all the proper equipment because you'll get stuck in the middle of nowhere. And, you know, it's not like in the hospital where you can call in extra staff. It's, you have what you have in your ambulance. And that's kind of why the state regulates that you have to have that X amount of stuff in there.
I just didn't know if that would be an option.
Yeah, it's a good thought, but I think too, that they're familiar because when it ain't used for transfer, that people can utilize it and they're all set the same, you know.
I'm definitely not questioning anything you do. You're a numbers guy. You always give us all the stuff. I'm just flabbergasted that.
No, and I
can't
completely get it.
Yeah.
But where do you try to cut things? And, you know, it isn't a good thing to go down to like a gas chassis or a smaller box. You know, they do make the transport ambulances that have, you know, they're real like the Mercedes, but the cot's all the way off to one side and it's gonna, in my opinion, gonna hinder patient care.
Yep.
But
You're still getting $15 a mile for transports,
well,
So there
that's what we've built.
but there is some revenue coming back. Not a
Right.
break even.
Last year we brought in right at 1.4 million.
Is that an average across the state of what people charge for transfers? I mean, do we need to look about maybe increasing that?
You can increase it all you want, but they're gonna still pay you what
It's
they
an
want.
insurance-driven business.
We're, the whole thing with this thing, we have no control in it, what's the cost or revenues or anything.
Right, you can sure go out and buy the cheapest ambulance you can find, but is that the right thing to do? No. Cause there's ambulances that you can't, nobody will remount them. You know, it just, then they're doing this over. So that's why when we looked at this, we looked long-term, options long-term.
I think you're doing a good job with it.
And the rotation plan is good.
It is good. I think we do need to, as a board, discuss, especially for budgetary numbers too. I mean, we're gonna be behind big time. You're gonna order another one and
Didn't we, Courtney, add in fiscal year 25 an extra 40,000 for this one?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, we went up to 134,000 a year. And depending on how it all pencils out, we may have to go up some more.
But we put that in for, because you had projected this was. gonna be the cost.
Yep, so this one there should be a surplus after. So we started kind of behind the 8 ball when I took over as director, and it's no fault of anybody's. It's just the prior ambulance, they had to basically dip into the next ambulance's funding. So we started kind of behind the 8 ball and then we're getting that back up to snuff. And then now we have to prepare for the
I
future.
think that was when that cost, I made the first initial jump as part of that, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe some legislative pressure would behoove us all.
Well, it is a
As we
hot
have
topic
our
right now.
Conversations with Medicare reimbursements and then insurance follow Medicare, that we, put some heat and grease the palms at the legislative level that we need to have this, because I mean, it just can't continue like this and then have.
Medicare is doing a data collection right now. They've been doing it for the last 3 years, I believe. We participated in it last year. And the goal of that is to see if they're, basically, they want to know if they're reimbursing enough. And I'm like, it doesn't take a data.
I can answer that.
Right. But I spent hours and hours and hours on all this stuff and submitted it all to them.
Right.
But I joked with Steph and Scott that I saved $35,000 doing it myself. So I just check written to me, it'd be great.
Please understand, you're only the messenger. We know you're the messenger,
Yeah.
and we're not shooting the messenger today. But,
Right.
I only bring up the point that it should be considered because again, to the points made earlier, is it's like to do nothing is insanity. Just sit there and just keep taking it.
Right.
And to your point, I think you make very, very valid points, but in your narrative, it says, again, why we don't consider the van bodies, why we don't consider gasoline engines is because we want them to last longer. So then we should see them last longer is the point that I'm, trying. We should realize at some point that investments we're making up front are behooving us for the ROI later.
Right.
One thing I do agree is that the diesel engine, 200,000 don't scare me.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, the oldest ambulance right now is a 2009. And it's got 218,000 miles on it, I believe.
But like you said, he rotates them out and kind of run off.
Absolutely.
and those are just the miles. And you have hour meters on these things, they're all in like this. That would be more telling, I think, more. so.
Yeah, and some of the, when sometimes we're on scenes for prolonged periods of time and, they're sitting there running.
Absolutely.
Or if we're doing special events, they're sitting there running.
That's the air conditioner running, that's the fan running. that's
And then
the
when,
water pump running.
it seems natural that once you get over that 200,000 mile mark, then it starts nickel and diming you to death. So then you're doing, $1,000 fixes 4 times a year or more. So that's why you pass them on. You keep the rotation going to get them out of the county before they start really costing a lot more money.
Yeah, the rotation has always worked well, so. No more questions for me.
So what you need is a approval, go ahead and purchase these in this time frame.
Right, and then like with the equipment, I'd like to put the order in before October.
And I think that makes total sense. I will make that motion, that you're ready to get this in order, and then we can have more discussions on some of this other stuff later on, but I'm almost anything else, but I'll get this one ordered equipment, so you get it here in time.
With that motion, would you like to add to look into the 4,800 transfer fee?
I need that, leave that open.
30.
That's open-ended.
Yep, so when we were going through the bidding on this, we told him that this might be an option, and he said that we can leave that open. It's not on paper, and I can get it on
That's what I
paper.
meant, leave that
But,
open. He can,
And then
find somebody who wants to bring it back, that's more powerful.
on the options page, it does have the 2024, that's no longer an option. With the time frame,
Well, I would say at the time frame you got that, yeah, it needs to be.
because there could have been a deduction to take the 2024 chassis.
We don't want that.
Yeah. But then that will include paying for the chassis as soon as it arrives, will give us another $4,000. And then I'll look into the transporting it back.
And on this one, this is the one replacing the one that's totaled, right, basically?
It's not replacing it. That one was extra, essentially. I just kept it because it didn't have any, it only had 102,000 miles on it. So it saved with having a delay in the last ambulance delivery, it saved, well, we put 52,000 miles on it in 7 months, 6 months. And it wasn't always if we had a high acuity transport, we didn't utilize it because the box is so small and it's just, or they had to have 2 staff members or something like that. So it still wasn't doing all the transport, but we ran the wheels off it literally, as much as we could.
Bad analogy.
That's not funny.
Yeah, that was a very unfortunate event, but
Very lucky.
yes.
It's never fun spending this kind of money. But you don't know. You're thankful when it's there when you need it.
Yeah. I just, flabbergasted.
What's insane, it's been this
And
way
you
for the
don't
last
have
3 years.
problems going down.
Watch the X equipment. It's nuts.
One can only, a lot of them attribute it to COVID. One can only hope that it would level out.
Yeah,
Maybe in 2024.
but I don't think it, I mean, people just we just keep paying it. I think, well, a lot of, if I own that business, I'd keep charging you. I mean, until you quit buying.
So there is a motion on the floor to accept for the purchase,
Authorized.
authorize the ambulance for the equipment in the ambulance pool. There's a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Have a great day. Thanks for all you do. Next item is 1B. We're going to have a discussion on P and Z and GIS future for Carroll County. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
I asked Sarah to come before the board just to kind of have a brief discussion. Congratulations on your future position. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
And so Sarah will be the new Carroll County assessor as of August 1st. And she had expressed interest in the interviewing process of moving P and Z and GIS over to the assessor's office. I think that set well, mind you, when Sarah was offered the position, that's a third supervisors, mayors, school board. But you had expressed interest in moving that over. As a board of supervisor, I think we can say that that is a great idea. Encompassing all those positions into one office, especially since they kind of utilize the same and they kind of commingle very well. So what I wanted to do was just have you come before the board, kind of maybe explain what that future can look like for that office. And any of your thoughts. I know we communicated for over the last week, kind of going back and forth. So I just kind of wanted to see what your thought and your input and what you think that vision is. We will be making no decision today. We just kind of wanted to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you guys for having me. So I feel that everything would work well together. As you know, GIS was basically brought up for the purpose of parcel data, which is what we use for our assessment roles in the assessor's office. So it makes sense to put it there. I would ultimately be doing all of the grunt work for probably the first 6 months, and then effective January 1, I would have Riley start doing the training. Reason I wouldn't have her be training right away is we are going to be doing that country work. So since I'm trained, I know the systems, I would be, learning my new role, but then also doing the assessor's office and just prioritizing the projects. Like the 911 would be a monthly project because there is that E911 grant that our 911 service board gets. So I mean, the very important projects would be top of the list as I focus on my new role, as well as P&Z. I do know we have a couple of big projects coming up for that where they've been expressed interest. I am willing to take that on. I understand as a board, if you might have any issues or questions, I'm happy to answer them. I feel that I took over zoning in January of 2023, and I've just kind of taken it and ran with it, without having that background, and I do enjoy it. So I'd be happy to assist. And like I said, I obviously my role is the assessor. I'm willing to continue to do what I am doing with, getting Riley in the game as far as GIS first.
So I know you're aware of the item 117.
Yep.
This is going to be something that I will take to Des Moines with me, and I have reached out for a couple different opinions from different law firms.
Yep.
Because the code states to go full-time the duties of the assessor's office and shall not engage in any occupation or business interfering or inconsistent with such duties. Now, like most things in the Iowa code, very polluted and hard to understand. To me, when I read this, I read that you are not to engage in being a real estate agent or an appraiser of any sort outside of the Carroll County business. That's how I read it. I'm gonna try and get more clarification of what that actually means. Because to me, it also, on playing devil's advocate, it could mean you are not allowed to do any P and Z or GIS. Luckily, you'll have Riley in that office, so I'm not so concerned anymore, because if she needs to take on those roles and responsibilities because you are unable to, she will be able to. And what a great role model she would have to learn those processes and learn how to run those computer systems. I know we are all in Des Moines in the next couple of weeks. There's going to be some people and different attorneys or anybody that we can speak to. And thank you for reaching back out to me, because I had you do some research on what other counties, and I know where the Board of Supervisors doesn't love the so-and-so does this, and this, especially when it comes to budget season, because it's, well, they get paid this and they only do that. But in this scenario, I did have Sarah reach out to other counties to try to figure out what other counties are doing to try to help clarify that Iowa code. And from what you sent me, there are multiple counties utilizing the assessor's office for both duties of P and Z and GIS, whether it's the assessor themselves or their staff doing those duties. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, I just kind of wanted her to come before the board, explain kind of what we've been talking about behind the scenes and how we're gonna go forward if we're gonna be moving those offices, if we're gonna be merging those offices back together again.
I think we have an opportunity with Riley. I think perhaps she's underutilized right now, and I can see her fitting well with the new roles.
So if I'm understanding this right, are you saying, Sarah, just stay confined, I'll use that term, dedicated, probably a better term, focused on just assessor role, and then Riley taking on P and Z, GIS, and perhaps passports? We have to talk about passports too.
I don't know if we can make that decision without the school or the conference board as far as.
Let's just say we could do that.
Yep.
I mean, is that your vision then? Is that it wouldn't be Sarah doing those items?
I think Sarah would have oversight. And, I guess I would have to defer to Sarah.
Ultimately, I would still be fine doing those. I will do whatever the board says. I do want Riley to learn GIS, and then if she has interest in zoning, absolutely. If that is where you guys see her and she's willing to take that on, then that would be a conversation I would have with her. Passports, I don't foresee that working in the assessor's office personally with the other items we're taking on. If we're allowed to take them on with the Board of Supervisors approval. But I do have faith that she would do a great job for GIS, and, you know, as she transitions to, I could just do more oversight. And I will help shape her to where she needs to be.
And clearly the board knows that there's two different levies we're working with here, so they have to be defining where that monies would come from as far as compensation for doing either, well, just either of those actually, but I still just get confused because of that Iowa code. I want clarification on that.
Yeah, back on this Iowa code, I think it was written in 1908 or something, but I mean, devote full-time, it's a little ambiguous, is to devote full-time to the duties of assessor's office and shall not engage in any other occupation or business. Here's the key,
Right?
interfering or inconsistent with such duties. I see, you know, commonality and seamlessness abound here. So I don't find it to be interfering or inconsistent with such duties. And, you know, as we've been talking about the last several months, almost ad nauseam, that the P and Z role is likely to become much larger. If the 2 mile limit thing makes a change, which again, seems apparent as though it may, it's certainly likely to. But it could get rather, significantly larger. I don't know how much larger. I mean, I really don't, even in my time, at the city, I don't know how often they got involved with a lot of that 2 mile limit with the staff that we had, quite frankly. So anyways, yeah, I think, again, we're not taking any action today. It's just for discussion and open discussion.
And as she said,
We're
I
gonna
think
find out more.
there's, on the P and Z, I think there's projects that, potential Verizon that could be.
Might come to the Board of Adjustment.
Right.
I just wanted, and then know Sarah does too, just to have everybody on board with these conversations we've had. And Mark, I appreciate when you read the code, I appreciate how you see it, because everybody's going to interpret that different,
That's the English language for you.
right?
Yes.
And we should add more shalls. Why not, shall we? But that's my opinion.
About a mayor or something.
But we also do need to have the discussion, because this probably needs to be on the agenda next week, is passports as well. Where we see the future home for that. Would anybody willing to do that in their office? How we're gonna go about that? Does it go to environmental services? Does it go? They're both in this room and I'm gonna get daggers. Does it go to the treasurer? We kind of do probably need to find a home for that if it's not going to be within the assessor's office.
And I think John's point is, just because other counties do it, it doesn't make it
Right.
right, like a 55 mile an hour speed limit. Well, other guys drive 65, so. But again, at the same time, if you read the code specifically, and that's why John is a litigator, I'm a negotiator, but I don't see it interfering or inconsistent with such duty. No, on that.
How do you guys want me to proceed, or Sarah to proceed? Bring it up as an action item next week. Sarah has agreed to continue until if something were to change, because obviously she'd change her office Thursday. And she does have a few appointments that have already been scheduled for certain things. She's willing to continue to do those until.
Well, I think continue on as we are now, but I think we need to know some financial.
I do have some financials here as well, in case you guys are ready.
Make copies of those for us, and we can look at them at our leisure.
If so, if, are you gonna submit these now, the
If you guys,
financials?
if you
Why
want
don't
to.
you hold off and then it just the open meetings requirements, hold off until next week and then include it in our board packet.
Yeah, so you can get those to.
So we're not returning.
I think there's an opportunity to come up.
Oh, absolutely. And how about ISAC? You got a good relationship down there with somebody that says, hey, here's what we want to do. And
I do, Jean does, I know Scott does, Mike, you're building your
I would say-
relationships.
I would check with, returning down.
You mean,
Huh?
And then maybe perhaps one more phone call, which I'll be glad to do, just if I can unload anything for you, but maybe have a discussion with the Assessors Association as well.
I sent an email, it's
Brent Hinders.
Hinders.
At the assessors.
No,
At
this is with
Oh, at
the
ISAC.
HH
That's,
Law PC.
that's through our insurance.
IMWCA gives us 200 minutes.
And I did
I
send it,
wondered what the IMC, isn't that workers' comp?
But they still, of legal service, they give 300 minutes a year.
Perfect, thank you. I wondered what that, I meant to ask that. Thank you.
I'll call ISAC.
Okay, and then you're having conversation with IMCW.
yeah, I'm waiting to hear back. I'll send a follow-up email today.
Okay.
To see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Nope, does everybody feel good about that? Clear as mud?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
sir.
Sure.
All right, item number 2 is To approve contract with Leroy and Sons Incorporated for M66 shoulder grading of LFM TM1 7X 14. Good morning, Zach.
Boy, hi, Zach.
Or Birch Avenue, South America.
Man, airport road.
There you go.
300 and some thousand.
The contractor did get, signed contracts back to me as well as their performance bond, and, insurance. Everything looks to be in order on that. This is the standard contract that we used on all the local projects in the past. I don't know if there's any particulars that you guys have questions on in regard to the project or this contract, but,
Start date, completion date, but
start date, we'll find out after we sign the contract. We'll talk to them and find out when they're looking to start. I think it'll be sooner than later. And, completion date is October 15th, so.
I did talk to them this weekend and they thought maybe in a couple weeks we get after it.
I don't have anything else unless you have any other questions on it.
We need a motion to allow the
To approve the
chair
contract.
to approve and sign the contract.
I'll make a motion to approve. Contract Leroy's and Sons for M66 shoulder.
In the amount of again, sorry.
$339,067.00.
I'll second that.
The motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
I will say. The third public, knowledge is because of some relationship there.
Just gonna give a little bit of update on the intersection project down there. They are moving forward, working on that. I believe they have all the pavement removed, working on some of the earthwork down there, so they're moving kind of full speed ahead on that project, so, which is good. Detour is in place.
Not being followed.
That's the intersection west of Fox.
Correct. Lots of traffic on gravel roads, both sides of the project. We did get some dust control put down in front of, both Audubon and Carroll County did, in front of, some acreages and busy intersections. We're looking to do a little bit more today, on the west side of the project, which over there as well, so, thank you. This part of the deal, for the amount of traffic that usually goes down that road, and the length of the detour, people are finding the short way around, so. Trying to do the best to make it as safe as we can without paving a detour route, basically, so.
Concord are busy right now.
It is very busy. So I appreciate all the property owners, understanding on that. I know it's not what everybody wants, but it's where traffic's going, so we're trying to do the best we can. But other than that, that's kind of what we got going on.
Anybody have any questions for Zach?
Thank you, Zach.
All right, thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Have a good week, Zach.
You too.
The next item on the agenda is to approve the treasurer's semi-annual report. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
Morning, Lisa.
Anybody have any questions? Basically, we go through every account that we have listed there. We go through basically the bottom half of the list. I think Courtney goes through the top half of the list. We check through the revenues and the expenses and make sure everything jive with what we have on our books and what went through the office. And then, submit it to you.
Did ask Lisa this morning about the $100,000 CD for the opioid funds that comes due October 26th. Reminder to everybody.
there's no questions, I'll make a motion to approve the accepting treasurer's semi-annual report.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. You said October 24th.
You're waiting, so.
So with that though, do we need to make another decision or if we continue to keep going?
Just have to let me know. If you want me to continue it on or.
We don't have to have a decision, you got to, those funds will be free again if we decide to do something.
Yeah,
Will you email us on what it's generated and? Okay.
Yeah, but earmark for anything.
We couldn't reach a decision or this spring, so that's why we put it in. It was 5.01 or 5.1% for 7 months. So we put it in a CD.
We had some presentations and nothing really caught our
We
eye.
really should get something, there's articles in
The county magazine has a bunch of them.
reading up on them, and I think we need to move.
I think in October, hopefully in ISAC, we can get some directions on what other counties have done.
We took the backseat on this one and sat back and I just kind of wanted to watch and see and let the money earn its own money.
Press the panic button.
Perfect. Thanks,
just let me
Lisa.
know.
Thanks, Lisa.
This one right here.
Also, that negative, we had a nice article about Bill Peterson.
Next item on the agenda is to approve the substance abuse fiscal year 24 year-end report. Everybody have time to take a look at this. This is a yearly report. Is there any questions or concerns? Courtney, do you have any?
I know, it's pretty standard, we do it every year, nothing's really changed as far as I can tell.
If there are no questions, I would make a motion to approve the substance abuse fiscal year 24 year-end report.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Almost saying, because I'm president.
Motion carries. Item number 5 then is to authorize chair to sign the fiscal year 25 county substance abuse programs agreement.
Any changes that anybody's aware of? If this remains the same, it's been working, I'd make a motion to approve authorize the chair to sign the fiscal year 25 county substance abuse programs agreement.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
You catch that, Courtney?
Yeah.
You're just having a heck of a day. Yeah.
And lots of decisions out there.
Hi.
Leroy and Sons, you want.
If you ever get anybody else, offering to do it, other than you, I mean, I have it. And I don't, even in my time, it's changed reason.
Okay, next item is manure management annual updates. Stone Path 3, Section 23, Pleasant Valley Township Annual Report. Karsten Site, Section 27, Ewood Township, change crop rotation, use manure analysis. Brady Bell, Section 15, Sheridan Township, use manure analysis. And EB Fork, Section 27, Roselle Township, no changes. If you guys don't mind, the next item, committee report, I'm gonna go ahead and give my committee report, and then I have to. Let's see. Last week, we had the chamber coffee gathering here. I helped set up, get the items for that, and then we hosted it, and thanks everybody for Carroll County for attending, and the Board of Supervisors for attending, and again, thanks everybody and employees for making it happen and being very gracious with their time, and when we needed help, they stepped up and helped, especially to Zach Anderson and Dalton, who worked overnights and on weekends, and Zach put in a lot of extra hours. Courtney, remind me, I'd like to create a letter to put into the newspaper thanking, again, all the contractors. There's a few, there's one for sure I forgot, Stones, who supply.
We're sitting in them.
Yep, sitting on them. Then we also had a conference board meeting with the appointment of the new Carroll County assessor starting August 1st. I worked with the state, had to get a couple letters to the state and emails back and forth. Sarah and I worked on the GIS and P&Z future home of where that will be sitting. And then I also was in contact with a few different attorneys in reference to that Iowa code. And then I spent some time out at Secondary Roads with Zach and Amy. And then I did have to check my expense report, which was all good. I also again want to thank Cindy Houghton. I know she handed her letter of retirement a few weeks ago, but I do want to thank her because this will be her last week and Monday meeting before we leave. But I do want to thank her for her continued service to Carroll County. She was a wonderful employee and we wish her nothing but the best in retirement and just to have fun. This upcoming week's, I actually do not have anything scheduled on my for meetings, but we all know that that's not gonna happen, so, but Courtney, we need to, here's some thoughts too. We need some bathroom signs. I don't know who we order. We order those through Stones.
I think so.
There is no signs down here that say men or women or anything.
You want ones just like what we got upstairs?
Probably, what do you guys think? It was just notes and tidbits that people made comments to me about the chamber coffee.
Drink too much coffee.
And then the other one, take care. That is all I have for this week. Does anybody have any questions for me? And
Yes, I'll take, let me go through mine for you. That work?
before I leave?
Yep.
Yep.
Hey, last week I had the conference board for the assessor. We have a Board of Health meeting at noon tomorrow at conservation because they're supposed to start the concrete today. Nelson has not, our concrete creators. He's gonna give me an update this afternoon. I think he was waiting on Mid-America for something with the electric pole yet. The last thing I had was the 2 mile radius deal. On Friday, July 5th, you emailed city administrator. And to my knowledge, we never heard back.
Correct.
Asking to meet with him. On Monday, July 22nd, I emailed him, got a response. He is asking for us, he doesn't want to just meet and discuss. We should have an idea where we're going rather than just sit down and talk. We could talk about 2 mile per hour. Do you guys have it narrowed down to a proposal? So what I want to say is, I think we need to put that as an agenda item, get what we want for our proposal to go to them and then set up a meeting with them. If they are not willing to openly discuss that. It's up to you guys, but
So in an open forum. I would agree.
absolutely.
I would.
So either we need to make it what we want and then go to them, or if they don't want to sit down and. I'm not speaking for all their city council members, but Aaron, city manager says that, they want it narrowed down to a proposal.
Well, I think maybe necessary some talking topics, not ideas that we, because we may not all want the same thing. At least we can listen to all.
Well, that would be why we asked for a meeting.
Yeah.
Have not got that.
And are you're suggesting we do it at a Board of Supervisors Monday 9 AM meeting rather than a city council 5:15 meeting?
Either way, I don't care.
I think either way, this, I mean,
Well, if we're the ones driving this, it's our meeting. Correct?
Correct.
I mean, they're just gonna sit on it until we do something, right?
Correct.
So
I mean, that is, I mean, I don't like to read into things, but with me sending an email, crickets, and then Mike following up, kind of crickets.
Right,
I didn't love the response.
right.
You come to us with an idea. Well, no, this is actually, let's all come together. Like I had said, come to the table, talk.
Openly.
Before we waste our time with a proposal.
But here it's been another month, so we gotta do something, either put an action item on an agenda, do something.
That's up to you guys. I'm game, and Mark, you're 100% right. It's our meeting. We're driving this, so. Can the council members be here at 9 AM?
Or do we need to make a decision first and then propose it to them? I don't
That's
know
what I
how it
was
works,
kind
yeah.
of too, but
Or do we need to narrow it down
But
with us
Gene
five?
says he
and then
doesn't, we
present
need
something?
something now. I think we need to make a decision, vote on it.
Well, you
There's
know,
5 of us
even
for-
with your idea, we could do option A. This is what we want, and then a potential option B.
Or some,
But there's still gonna be negotiating, or it goes away, or it doesn't.
some of the topics we're not talking about, then we discuss it at that meeting.
Yeah.
Between two.
That's,
We may not all agree,
that's the point of having a meeting with the city.
yeah.
I'm fine with. However you guys want to proceed.
Do you want that on the agenda for next week?
So do you guys?
I'm all in.
Yeah, we put,
Everybody feel like they're well educated in the.
if we meet next week.
We will be, because we'll have P and Z plus GIS plus passports.
Gotcha.
With that new office happening this Thursday, we probably need to have some kind of action item. Do you guys need me a part of your committee report? Are you guys good?
Sorry, that hold you up, that's what I wanted.
No, you're
Are you
good.
done?
I got time.
Yeah, I'm done, thank you.
I go. Last week, Monday, I had RSVP foster grandparents. Left early to come here for the conference board. Congratulations to Sarah and thanks to Seth for organizing the interviews and meeting schedules. Tuesday at noon was the CCGP board meeting. Tuesday evening was Farm Bureau annual meeting in Breda. Wednesday, I did get a hold of Jason Christensen at Conservation about seasonal help. Thursday, I met with Sarah for updates on possible upcoming Board of Adjustment status meeting or issue, and no action has been taken on any of them. Friday was Chamber Coffee, thanks to Batings for providing refreshments. Tony Bating is gonna put in, or Bating Construction is gonna put in a vent between those two rooms, means that back room is now a server room. We got kind of vent into the, right behind the counter there. And then Friday, I talked to Amy about the calcium chloride on the roads down at M66 detour. Today, I've got newspaper and radio. And Thursday, I'm gonna listen to Rob Sands, State Auditor at Southside Park at 11:15. That's it.
I had newspaper radio last week too.
I can go next. Last week I had the conference board meeting. Again, congratulations, Sarah, and Stephanie, and all the members that entered the interviews. I was not able to make the CCGP executive board meeting because they canceled when I was supposed to be in that. I had something else scheduled on it. Did have it. Wednesday, we had Rolling Hills Mental Health Board meeting. We did that by Zoom. There was a supplemental funding request by Siouxland Mental Health Center for about $307,000. And we had checked with the state on how they wanted to do that, and they weren't too enthused the way they had it proposed. So then they came back to proposal for an amendment. And my question to them was it sustainable? That's the one-time funding, how it's going to be sustainable. But it did get approved by the rest of the board. I did vote nay on it. And then we did approve fiscal year 25 contract for Image. Imagine the possibilities. They have $8 per 15 minutes. That contract. And Plains Area Mental Health had also revised contract. Then we had discussion on the HH alignment. That was the end of that board meeting. And then on Friday, I was back here for chamber coffee, which was very well organized, and I was real happy with the way things turned out. And then after that meeting, I had to go back out new opportunities, and then we had another Iowa HH system alignment meeting out there, but Kelly Garcia and Marisha Everson and Zach Ryan were there. Basically, talk about mental health, behavioral health, and also the age and disability services, and how this thing is all going to come down. And I have been through many of these meetings, and the one up at Spencer was Storm Lake that I went to was as far as I was concerned. But out of that meeting out there, they had their consultants, and they came up with 3 proposals for maps for regions. And I was made aware of Wednesday, those 3 maps were all out the window. Now there's a new one coming, that's going to be announced August 1st. And they said one thing they found out, the map does not mean nothing. So what they're saying is particularly, if you take new opportunities out here, the way those maps are set up, we're going to be drawn from 3 different regions probably. And this could become an issue for us, drawing revenue down. That is now going out the window, and that doesn't seem like that's going to be an issue at this point. I will say this meeting today was more, informational, and I thought they had a better plan on what they're doing. They do seem to be making some headway. I'm not totally so well with it. So, and then I had a lot of phone calls with Zach this last week and stuff too. And this week, at this point, have nothing, and that's always subject to change.
And then, real quick, Monday conference board, Friday chamber coffee. I should have brought this up to you guys last week, so I'll just remind myself to do it today. You got email from us, from Lisa about a month or so ago about, the pillar supporting the canopy. I just kind of taken it upon myself to try and just get this to a means to an end. But the canopy is eroding away, or the support is eroding away. We don't know if it's not structurally sound inside, it's just concrete around it. But apparently when this was breached about in 2022, it was determined that the canopy roof itself is the cause of the problem. So in order to do anything with the support, the canopy roof, not the whole courthouse roof, but just the canopy roof, needs to be addressed. And Zach took it upon himself to just try and get a couple of local quotes. Believe that to be a membrane type of roof, shouldn't be anything catastrophic, but of course I'm afraid to even say that. But he's gonna try and get a couple of quotes on that, and then that will need to be repaired. And then we would go to the next step, but, just a matter of how fast this moves.
Just, it's more, pillar is more cosmetic.
It's cosmetic is what it appears to me too, but what we don't know is if there's any, anything to be concerned of the inside of it, which remains to be seen, so. But it doesn't behoove us to just take it off, let it leave like that without fixing what the original problem is. And Courtney and Stephanie are in on that, they kind of knew that we were doing that, but I just failed to advise you guys, so sorry. And this week I'm dead, so if I can help anybody out. Talk about underutilized right here.
Doesn't happen very often when there's nothing.
Yeah, I really don't have
It's
anything.
dead week at the schools too.
Yeah. So,
Coordinate next week.
So we've got GIS, P and Z passports, 2 mile limit.
Anything else? Anybody?
and you said earlier, no payables this cycle.
Correct, it'll be the 10th,
The 10th, okay.
or I'm sorry, the 12th,
Okay.
12th and 26th.
Maybe I should say this for next week.
State your name and.
Colin Wormont. But I just wanted to kind of discuss the 2 mile radius and sort of what you guys are, going from that. I meant to say this last week, but I thought I missed the public speaking part of this, so.
Biddies at the beginning were.
Right, so, but me and my mom had the opportunity of about a year or a little over a year ago in the beginning of our dilemma we ran into last year of going to a zoning and a planning and zoning meeting, presented by Iowa State. It was at Region 12.
That Sebring.
Yeah. To show you how exciting I am on the weekends, I decided to read this thing cover to cover over the weekend. And something that kept coming up in this was to be proactive, not reactive, when planning and zoning or changing your what is it called? What's the plan?
Comprehensive plans.
The-
10-year comprehensive plan.
Comprehensive plan.
Yes.
Oh, compliment.
So when planning and zoning and using and changing your comprehensive plan to be proactive, not reactive, I think that we could all, or at least I come to the conclusion that, our special use permit that was granted to us last year was more of a reactive document, not a proactive sort of thing, kind of kicking the can down the road. That's, I guess, all I wanted to say, but, yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next week too.
I had one of the things at the meeting we had several weeks ago was some of the people wanted to wait till District 1 was filled permanently instead of by appointment.
District 5.
Or I'm sorry, District 5. And so I don't know if that is still a concern or not.
Okay.
That's what I was told last year.
Yeah.
Gary had said,
Your 2 mile presented that, your 2 mile advocates presented that.
Right,
Okay,
but that was just a question that I was gonna bring up.
Yeah, I
We can
guess
talk about it next week.
discussions or whatever, I guess I'm more talking about like discussions and things like that you guys are having amongst yourselves or with the city to, be thinking proactively, not reactively. Farming is changing, the 2 mile radius consists, I imagine, a lot of farmers, things like that. So farming is changing drastically, people need other means of income to make it in farming anymore. The people that sit in the tractor all day and just farm, row crop farm and raise cattle are kind of going with the dinosaurs. So, and this, what we are doing out there is a means of our farming. So thank you all for your time and commitment to this.
Thank you. Any other questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
We don't have to make a decision on it.
Yeah.
We can keep all going.